How's it going, folks? Carlos R. Benitez back here again. Episode 9 of My Dog's Place. I know I said we were going to stop numbering these, but screw it. Now, today I wanted to talk about some BS dog products that you really don't need. But before we get started, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow on all platforms at My Dog Carl. Now, first one I wanted to start off with are pee pads. And these are really tricky because a lot of people think that they're helpful and they'll kind of help your dog get potty trained, and it won't. A lot of people think that using pee pads and laying a bunch of pee pads around the house will get the dog to pee in one spot. And that is true, but that doesn't convert very well to getting them to pee outside. The dog ends up leaving their scent around the house, a bunch of different places around the house, and again, now they're going to get used to being in these spots. It's going to be very difficult to get them to kick that habit moving forward. Now, another thing that also I've seen happens is once it gets very peed up and stuff like that, the dogs tend to start chewing on it and making a mess. They tear them up, and now you're just making it more inconvenient for you, and it's going to add another reason for you to get frustrated at your young puppy, which is never a good thing. So that being said, guys, you're better off just taking your dog outside and letting them pee. If you're in a situation where your dog is still not vaccinated and you don't feel comfortable taking them outside, maybe get a piece of turf or something that replicates grass and maybe put a little area inside the house and make that the pee area. That would be a better way to kind of go about this. The second one is an anti-chew spray. Now, I used to use this with Pachi, or I used it once or twice with Pachi, and I sprayed it up in the air and I choked on it, right? I would assume it's like getting maced or something like that. It felt very similar to that. And I can't imagine that this would be healthy for the dogs. With Pachi specifically, I would spray it on the furniture where he was chewing it up, and I started realizing that the discomfort from the anti-chew spray didn't really matter because the satisfaction from chewing on whatever he was chewing on was that much more great. So the dog will get used to it over time. I would suggest, if you're trying to get something that the dog won't chew on, if you're trying to get him to stop chewing on something, get a bone marrow. You can't get him to this is something where you need to redirect it. So the dog wants to chew. He's going to want to chew, especially if you have a younger dog. So give him a bone marrow. I always highly endorse the bone marrows. These are like the secret sauce. You can use this for separation anxiety. You can use this when the dogs are teething, all this stuff. Speaking on a little bit of anxiety, though, the next one I want to talk about are anxiety treats and chews and toys. Now, I personally feel like these are just a marketing tactic and they put these names behind it. I don't necessarily think that they're unhealthy for dogs, but it's counterproductive to what it is that we're trying to do with the dog. Most of the time, you would give the anti-chew toy or the anxiety chews or the anxiety toy to the dog when they are anxious. And essentially what we're doing is rewarding the dog for being in that state of mind. And that's not what we want to do. So this is something that needs to be trained. This is a bit of a longer conversation, but anxiety treats and toys, that's not the way to address your dog's anxiety. Again, this is something that needs to be trained and something that could take longer than you might think. These anxiety treats are a bit misleading because there is no quick fix to this, and it might make you think that it's just masking the problem, not necessarily addressing it. Now, honorable mention, I wanted to talk about harnesses. Now, a harness could be good depending on what you use it for. If you're training your dog for sports, then it could be very useful. But most of the time, people will buy a harness because they don't want for walking purposes, right? And what ends up happening with the harness is it actually makes your dog pull more. You need to use some sort of collar or slip lead or whatever, right? Because you want to discourage your dog from hanging out at the end of the leash. Now, a harness, essentially, the thought process that I believe is people buy a harness to make it more comfortable when the dog is pulling. But again, we're avoiding the actual problem, and that's the fact that my dog is pulling. So to do that, we need to teach the dog leash pressure. And again, it's a longer conversation, but getting a harness is not the way to address it. So that's a couple of the products that I think are a bit BS and a bit misleading, and you probably shouldn't buy them. You should get into some training. You should do some more research and see how you can address the actual root of the problem, not just the symptoms. So I hope that helps, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. But if you guys have any other questions, any other concerns, any other comments, please let me know down below. I'd love to do a video on something that you guys want to hear. So catch you guys next time.